The Republicans talk about big, beautiful bill. I think this is a big, ugly bill. Let's call it what it is. It is the largest transfer of wealth from the poor to the rich in U.S. history. This reconciliation package proposes devastating cuts to Medicaid and SNAP. My Republican colleagues will tell you that they are just going after waste, fraud, and abuse, but let's be clear. The only way to slash this much safety net spending is by making it harder for people to survive.
As an employee and an agent of the president, I think has certainly more Democratic legitimacy than Anthony Fauci did, and he certainly has more Democratic legitimacy than the nameless, faceless bureaucrats who have been running our lives for several years, the waste of which he is rooting out currently. President Trump here with DOGE is doing exactly what he was elected to do. DOGE is a part of the Trump mandate. It's extremely popular. In fact, Elon Musk and the DOGE movement right now are polling at a higher approval rating than Joe Biden had on his way out.
For years, Democrats have warned that cutting government spending would be dangerous, inhumane, or authoritarian. Today, Ilhan Omar pushed that argument further than ever, accusing Republicans of passing what she called a police state budget designed to hurt the poor and reward billionaires. But then something unexpected happened. A freshman Republican did not rely on slogans, he did not dodge the issue, he did not water down the message. Brandon Gill went straight at the numbers, naming the spending, naming the programs, and challenging Democrats to defend them out loud. And suddenly the room went quiet. Subscribe if you care more about facts than political theater.
Their changes will kick millions of Americans off their health care and nutrition assistance. That means more untreated illnesses, more hungry children, more preventable deaths. This isn't just line items in the budget. There are people's lives, the sacrifice of human dignity and of life itself. And for what? So that your billionaire friends can get nearly $300,000 in tax cuts? This is not a serious budget. This is a green light for authoritarianism, for inequality to run rampant. It is a police state budget wrapped in billionaire tax cuts.
Mr. Gill from Texas is recognized for 6 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And first of all, thank you for all of your hard work. I'm thrilled about this piece of legislation as it's getting started. This reconciliation bill, I believe, will balance. It will extend the Trump tax cuts for the working class so that they don't experience the biggest tax increase in American history, and it'll grow the economy. But of course, it will also help us to implement the Trump agenda, which is to clean up the chaos and destruction that Joe Biden unleashed on our country over the past 4 years. It will help us fund the mass deportation of illegal aliens who have been murdering and raping and pillaging American citizens. It will help us unleash our fossil fuel energy sector, and it will allow us to rebuild our military. And of course, it will help us implement DOGE, which this amendment targets, among other things. As DOGE has been rolled out, I think it's been a bit curious because I found that so many of our colleagues on the other side of the aisle have not been upset about the waste, fraud, and abuse that this process has uncovered. Rather, they've been angry that the fraud has been exposed at all. We found that for decades, the administrative state has been weaponized against the American people. We can give example after example of flagrant abuses of American taxpayer dollars. We've heard of some of them earlier, but I'll name a few more. $1 million spent to boost French-speaking LGBTQ groups in West and Central Africa through the State Department. Almost $50,000 on a transgender opera in Colombia, also through the State Department. Over $7,000 for a BIPOC speaker series in Canada through the State Department. I think it's worth noting that normal, sane Americans don't know what BIPOC means, and neither do I. $80,000 for an LGBTQ community center in Slovakia, and over $16,000 for a united and equal queer feminist discourse in Albanian society, whatever that is. And of course, we also know that our taxpayer dollars have been going to the tune of hundreds of millions of dollars every year to fund left-wing media outlets like NPR and PBS, paying for welfare for illegal aliens, and paying for giving out payments to international organizations that are censoring and pushing for the censorship of American citizens. Our own federal government is using taxpayer dollars to promote ideologies that tens of millions of Americans find utterly repulsive. I think if the other side of the aisle has such a deep ideological opposition to this DOGE process, I challenge them to be straightforward with the American people and explain why taxpayer dollars should be funding queer feminist discourse in Albanian society or drag shows in Ecuador. I don't think that they will, but I would love to see it if they did. Elon Musk, acting as an employee and an agent of the president, I think has certainly more democratic legitimacy than Anthony Fauci did, and he certainly has more democratic legitimacy than the nameless, faceless bureaucrats who have been running our lives for several years, the waste of which he is rooting out currently. President Trump here with DOGE is doing exactly what he was elected to do. DOGE is a part of the Trump mandate. It's extremely popular. In fact, Elon Musk and the DOGE movement right now are polling at a higher approval rating than Joe Biden had on his way out of the White House. President Trump, of course, is polling at record numbers.
During the hearing, Ilhan Omar described the reconciliation bill as a big ugly bill, claiming it represents the largest transfer of wealth from the poor to the rich in American history. She argued that reducing Medicaid and SNAP spending would lead to suffering, hunger, and death, calling the legislation morally indefensible and authoritarian. When Brandon Gill was recognized, the tone shifted immediately. He said the bill extends tax relief for working Americans, prevents a historic tax increase, and supports economic growth. He then explained what the legislation actually funds: border enforcement, domestic energy production, military rebuilding, and a federal initiative focused on eliminating waste, fraud, and abuse. Brandon Gill argued that many Democrats seem less concerned about fraud itself and more upset that it is being exposed. He cited examples of taxpayer spending revealed through federal audits, including State Department grants for ideological programs, overseas public funding for niche cultural and activist projects, abroad federal support for publicly funded media organizations like NPR and PBS, and payments to international bodies involved in censorship efforts affecting Americans. Brandon Gill challenged Democrats to clearly explain why American taxpayers should pay for these programs while the country faces record debt. He defended the DOGE initiative and Elon Musk's role in it, saying that accountable actors operating under an elected president have more legitimacy than unelected bureaucrats who have quietly accumulated power for decades. He described this moment as part of a larger constitutional struggle where permanent administrative agencies have replaced voter accountability, leaving Americans to pay the bill without a voice. The bottom line is unavoidable. The United States is $37 trillion in debt. Waste is not theoretical, and reform is no longer optional. Democrats now face a choice: admit the system is broken, or defend every dollar no matter how absurd. This was not posturing, it was exposure. If you want more moments where political narratives collapse under scrutiny, like the video, subscribe, and stay informed. We will catch you next.